When we talk about avoidant personalities in relationships, most people assume the distance means disinterest. They think, if this person really cared, they'd call me more, they'd text more, they'd be more affectionate. But love doesn't always show up in the ways we've been conditioned to expect. An avoidant doesn't broadcast their emotions like a loudspeaker. They whisper them in subtle actions. If you're not paying attention, you'll miss it. Here's the truth. When an avoidant shows up for you in their way, it's one of the clearest signs of love you'll ever see. See, for most avoidant people, showing up at all is a battle. Their nervous system has been trained, sometimes since childhood, that closeness is dangerous, that opening the heart equals risk, that connection can mean pain. So when they reach out, when they carve out even a sliver of their time, when they stay present in your orbit, it's not a small act. It's a monumental one. Think about this for a moment. If you have someone in your life who doesn't naturally lean toward intimacy, but they're making an effort to see you, to share a meal, to call just to check in, to help you with something, even though every fiber of their wiring says, keep your distance. That is love. That is them pushing against their very nature because you matter more than their fear. Now, we live in a world obsessed with overt expressions. Social media has trained us to measure love by grand gestures, flowers, vacations, public declarations. But authentic connection doesn't always look like a movie script. Sometimes it's in the quiet consistency. The avoidant who drives across town just to help you move a couch, but never says the words, I love you. The avoidant who stays late to listen to your worries even though they'd rather retreat. The avoidant who sacrifices their comfort zone to show up in yours. Psychologists will tell you this. Avoidants operate in a push-pull dynamic. They crave closeness but fear it at the same time. And so their actions often look contradictory. They won't flood you with affection, but when they choose to show up, it's deliberate. It's not impulsive. It's not careless. It's a conscious act of stepping into discomfort for the sake of keeping you in their world. That is not indifference. That is devotion expressed differently. And here's where most people get it wrong. They interpret the lack of overt affection as rejection. They miss the deeper signal, because love isn't always loud. Sometimes it's silent. Sometimes it's not in the words, but in the presence. Think about someone standing beside you quietly, not saying a thing, but refusing to leave your side. That's presence. That's energy. That's love embodied. Now, let's zoom out philosophically. What is love at its essence? It's not just emotion. It's action. It's the willingness to move toward another human being, even when it's inconvenient, even when it challenges you. For the avoidant, every act of showing up is an act of courage. And courage, in its purest form, is love in motion. If you want to truly understand an avoidant, you can't measure their love by the same yardstick you use for everyone else. You need to look at the effort it costs them. For some people, saying I miss you is effortless. For an avoidant, just picking up the phone to check in can feel like scaling a mountain. But they climb it anyway. That's love. I've coached countless people who were stuck in relationships with avoidant partners, convinced they weren't loved. And when I asked them to really reflect, to track the behaviors instead of the words, the story changed. They realized this person never abandoned them in a crisis. This person kept showing up quietly, steadily, when it mattered. That's not absence, that's commitment. So if you are in a relationship with an avoidant, stop chasing the fireworks and start noticing the sparks. Pay attention to the subtle ways they show up. It might be the way they remember a detail you thought they forgot. It might be the way they carve out time in a schedule they guard so fiercely. It might be the way they choose to stay when leaving would be easier. Because here's the paradox for an avoidant. Love is not in the easy expressions, it's in the difficult ones. And when you see them choose difficulty, when you see them step out of their comfort zone to keep you close, that is love in its most honest form. So the next time you wonder if an avoidant truly cares, don't just listen for words. Don't just look for obvious gestures. Look for the quiet persistence. Look for the fact that against all odds, they're still here. That is their love letter. You just have to learn how to read it. And if you can recognize it, if you can honor it, then not only will you see the love that's already there, but you'll also give them the safety to express even more of it. Remember this, love doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. And if you learn to hear those whispers, you'll never question their love again. One of the most misunderstood aspects of an avoidant personality is their need for space. To the outside observer, that distance looks like rejection. It feels like disinterest. But here's the paradox. When an avoidant creates space yet keeps you in it, that's actually one of the strongest indicators of love. Think about it. For someone who values independence so deeply, who has built their emotional survival on self-reliance, letting you remain in their world even at a distance is not casual. It's intentional. It means you're not just another passing face in the crowd. You've become part of the inner circle, and that inner circle is guarded with everything they've got. Here's where most people get trapped. They confuse proximity with importance. They assume closeness equals love, distance equals detachment. But psychology teaches us something different. For an avoidant, love isn't measured by constant contact. It's measured by the willingness to maintain a bond, even while protecting their personal space. In other words, it's not about being with you every moment. It's about not letting go of you, no matter how much space they take. And this is where it gets profound. That space they create isn't a wall against you. It's a wall against their own fear. Fear of being consumed. Fear of being hurt. Fear of losing themselves in the process of closeness. But notice this, even behind that wall, they still keep a door open for you. They may step back, but they don't step out. They retreat, but they don't abandon. But that's not indifference, that's balance. Let me give you an image. Imagine someone holding a balloon on a string. They give it space to float, to move, to dance in the wind, but they never let go of the string. That's how an avoidant loves. They allow distance, but they keep the tether. And that tether is their silent promise. So you're still mine. I still choose you. Even from here, you matter. Philosophically, isn't this what true love is about? Not ownership, not suffocation, but the freedom to be yourself while still belonging somewhere. The avoidance way of loving teaches us a deeper lesson. Love is not about constant closeness, it's about consistent connection. They may not sit in your lap every hour, but they keep you in their life every day. And that consistency is its own form of intimacy. Now let's be honest, this isn't easy to accept if you're someone who craves reassurance. If your love language is constant contact, you might misinterpret their distance as a lack of care. But here's the shift. When you recognize that their distance isn't pushing you away, but protecting the relationship from their own overwhelm, you begin to see it differently. It's not rejection, it's preservation. And in moments where you feel that space, notice how they never fully disconnect. They text just enough to let you know they're still there. They circle back after the retreat. They keep you in their plans. They maintain the thread. This is where you can start to reframe. The thread, however thin, is not fragile. It's strong. Because for an avoidant, holding on to anyone at all takes effort. And if they're holding on to you, it means you're worth it. I've seen this play out countless times in relationships. One partner says, "They don't love me. They're always distant." But when we slow down and really examine the behavior, what do we see? We see that despite the distance, the avoidant partner hasn't left. They haven't replaced you. They haven't cut you off. They've simply created breathing room so they can remain connected without feeling suffocated. That's not the absence of love. That's love adapted to their capacity. Here's the deeper truth. Love is not about eliminating space. Love is about choosing to stay connected across space. And that's what an avoidant does when they keep you in their world while keeping their distance. They're saying, I need room to breathe, but I don't want to breathe without you in my life. And if you can see that for what it is, it changes everything. You stop chasing constant closeness and you start appreciating steady connection. You stop demanding proof and you start recognizing presence. And when you make that shift, you create the safety that allows an avoidant to close the gap naturally on their own terms. So here's the challenge for you. Instead of asking, why are they so far away? Ask, why are they still here? Because in that answer, you'll find the truth. The distance isn't a void, it's a container. And within that container, you've been placed. That is not rejection. That is love expressed through space. Remember this: closeness without freedom suffocates, but freedom with connection sustains. And when an avoidant chooses to give themselves freedom, but still chooses to keep you in their life, they're not loving you less. They're loving you in the only way they know how. And that's worth more than 1,000 empty words. One of the clearest signs that an avoidant actually loves you is when they let you see even a glimpse of their vulnerability. And I want you to really hear this. Because for someone with an avoidant attachment style, a vulnerability isn't just uncomfortable, it feels dangerous. It goes against the core of their survival strategy. For most of their lives, they've been trained to keep emotions locked up, sealed tight, hidden behind a wall. So when that wall cracks, even slightly, you're witnessing something profound. Here's why. Avoidants learned, usually very early in life, that emotions weren't safe. Maybe when they cried, no one came. Maybe when they expressed need, they were shamed. Maybe when they opened up, they were hurt. The message they internalized was simple: if I reveal too much of myself, I'll get abandoned or rejected. So they became masters of self-containment, masters of independence, masters of control. Now imagine what it takes for someone like that to share even a fraction of what they truly feel. That moment when they say, I'm scared, or I don't know if I'm good enough, or I missed you. That's not casual. That's not small. That's an act of trust so rare, so costly to them, that it should never be dismissed as ordinary. Think about it. We live in a culture where vulnerability gets romanticized. People talk about open communication like it's a default setting. But for an avoidant, it's not. Vulnerability is not their baseline. It's their Everest. And when they climb it for you, that is love in action. It's the quiet way of saying, you're safe. You're the one person I'm willing to take the risk with. And now I want you to pause and reflect on your own relationships. How many times have you overlooked those small windows of honesty? Maybe your partner made a rare confession, and instead of recognizing its weight, you brushed it aside or demanded more. Here's the truth for an avoidant. One honest sentence may carry the weight of 1,000 unspoken fears. You have to learn to hear it, to see it, to value it for what it is. Psychologically, what's happening here is fascinating. When avoidants let down their guard, their nervous system is overriding years of programming. They're stepping into discomfort, overriding the instinct to shut down, and allowing intimacy to happen in real time. That moment of openness is a direct contradiction of their usual coping mechanism. And contradiction is costly. It requires effort, courage, and love. Philosophically, this reveals something beautiful about human connection. Vulnerability is the essence of intimacy. It's the bridge between two souls. And when an avoidant decides to cross that bridge, even for a few steps, they're affirming that the bond with you matters more than the fortress they built to protect themselves. That is sacred. But here's the key: how you respond in those moments determines whether they ever risk it again. If you dismiss it, mock it, or pressure them for more, they retreat. The wall slams shut. But if you honor it, if you hold it with care, you create the safety that allows them to keep opening. Vulnerability feeds on safety. And when you provide that safety, the avoidant learns, maybe for the first time, that it's okay to show who they really are. And isn't that what we all want? To be seen, to be known, to be accepted, not just for our strengths, but for our fears, our flaws, our doubts. That's what love is. Not perfection, not performance, presence. And when you witness vulnerability in someone who has spent their life avoiding it, you're standing in front of one of the purest expressions of love they can give. I've seen it over and over again. The avoidant partner who finally admits they're afraid of losing you. The avoidant parent who struggles to say, I'm proud of you. The avoidant friend who finally shares a painful memory. These aren't random slips, they're breakthroughs. They're moments where love overrides fear, where trust overrides self-protection. And if you're on the receiving end, you're not just lucky, you're chosen. So the next time an avoidant lets you see their heart, don't ask why it isn't bigger, louder, more frequent. Ask yourself this: what does it cost them to show me this much? Because when you understand the cost, you'll realize how valuable the gift truly is. Remember, vulnerability for an avoidant isn't weakness. It's proof of love. It's the ultimate declaration that you are different, that you are safe, that you are worth the risk. And that's not something to take lightly. So let me leave you with this: when an avoidant opens the door to their inner world, even for a moment, don't just walk through it, cherish it. Because in that brief glimpse, you're not just seeing who they are, you're seeing how much you mean to them. When we think about love, most people picture passion, fireworks, and intensity. They imagine big displays, constant affection, the kind of romance you see in movies. But here's the reality: passion may light the spark, but it's consistency that keeps the fire alive. And if there's one thing you'll notice about an avoidant in love, it's this: they often choose consistency over drama. At first, that may not sound romantic. It might even feel disappointing if you're expecting endless waves of passion and grand gestures. But if you look deeper, you'll realize it's one of the clearest ways they express their love. See, avoidants don't thrive in chaos. Their nervous system is built for control, for stability. And when they care about someone, they don't gamble with that connection by playing games, by steering conflict, or by chasing highs and lows. Instead, they ground themselves in reliability. They show up in steady, predictable ways. And in relationships, that's gold. Think about it. Anyone can dazzle you for a weekend. Anyone can send flowers after a fight, write dramatic love notes, make a scene. But it takes real love, real intention to keep showing up day after day without the noise, without the drama, without the roller coaster. An avoidant may not shout their love from the rooftops, But you'll notice it in the fact that they call when they say they will. They follow through on their commitments. They don't promise the world. They offer what they can sustain. And then they sustain it. Psychologically, that's huge. Avoidants are wired to protect themselves. So when they commit to consistency, what they're really doing is offering stability to you as well. They're saying, I'm not going to drag you into chaos. I'm not going to make this a storm. I'm going to be the steady ground you can rely on. And isn't that what most of us truly want beneath all the fantasy? A love that lasts, a love that steadies us, a love that doesn't burn out after the first rush. Now here's the philosophical angle. Drama is seductive. It feels alive, it feels passionate, but it's fleeting. True love isn't built on adrenaline, it's built on endurance. The Greeks had a word for this kind of love, apragma, the enduring practical love that grows with time. When avoidant chooses you, they don't want a fireworks show. They want a steady flame. That's not less romantic. It's more. Because it's real. It's sustainable. It's a choice every single day. I've seen this pattern in so many couples. One partner craves constant reassurance, as con excitement. The avoidant seems quiet, steady, even boring by comparison. But when storms come, when life gets messy, when challenges hit, guess who's still there holding it together? The avoidant. They may not shower you with affection every moment, but when you need someone you can count on, they're present. It's not just loyalty. That's love expressed through consistency. And here's the kicker. Consistency is not glamorous, but it's priceless. Think about the people you respect the most in your life. Are they the ones who come and go unpredictably? Or are they the ones who show up, who follow through, who keep their word? The same principle applies in love. Reliability may not make headlines, but it builds trust. And trust is the foundation of any relationship worth keeping. This is where many people misunderstand avoidance. They think they're not emotional enough. They're not expressive enough. But what they don't see is the avoidant is often quietly building a structure of safety. They're not chasing highs because they don't want to risk lows. They're not playing games because they don't want to lose what matters. They're not flooding you with affection because they don't want to burn out. Instead, they're creating something steady, something enduring, and in a world full of chaos, that is a profound act of love. So if you're with an avoidant, pay attention not just to what they say, but to what they repeat. Do they keep showing up? Do they keep making space for you in their life? Do they keep choosing you in ways that may not be dramatic but are deeply reliable? That's the language of consistency. And if you learn to recognize it, you'll see it for what it is devotion without theatrics. Because in the end, love isn't about how high you can climb in a moment. It's about how long you can walk together through the seasons of life. The avoidant knows this instinctively. They may not sweep you off your feet every day, but they'll stand beside you when it matters. And that's a love you can build on. So let me leave you with this. Passion may ignite the spark, but consistency keeps the fire alive. And when an avoidant chooses consistency over drama, they're not showing you less love. They're showing you the kind of love that lasts.